In 2019, WeWork terminated me while I was on disability leave. I was on that leave because I live with sickle cell disease, and WeWork had failed to accommodate it. The leave itself existed because the accommodations didn't. And then, mid-leave, they terminated me. Here's the part that should stop you. No human being at that company knew it had happened. Nobody knew until someone finally asked why I hadn't shown up to my own termination meeting. And because I was terminated before my leave ended with it. So did my health coverage. I lost access to care at the exact moment I needed it most. That's not a paperwork inconvenience when you have sickle cell. That's a threat to your life. There was no AI headline back then, no algorithm to blame. Just performance data used arbitrarily inside a system where no human was accountable for the decision or even aware of it. So, this month, when 26 Meta employees filed suit alleging that AI selected them for layoffs, disproportionately people on medical, parental, and family leave. I didn't see a new story. I saw my story with better branding for the defense. In my TEDx talk, I called this being coded out. When systems are designed in ways that erase you, and everyone gets to pretend it was nobody's decision. Today, we discuss what this lawsuit actually alleges and why AI is just the newest coat of paint on a much older machine. First, the facts. In May, Meta announced it was cutting 8,000 jobs, roughly 10% of its workforce. In mid-July, 26 of those employees filed suit in federal court in Oakland. The complaint alleges Meta used internal AI systems to help decide who got cut, keystroke and activity monitoring data, AI token usage dashboards, and algorithmically assisted performance rankings. And here's the sentence that matters. The lawsuit says these scores, quote, by design, cannot be accumulated by an employee who is on protected medical or family leave, or whose output is reduced by a disability. Sit with that. If the metric is digital activity, and your legally protected leave means zero digital activity, the system doesn't see a person exercising rights guaranteed by the FMLA, the ADA. It sees a low performer. Every time. Structurally, that's not a bug in the model. That is the model. That is what being coded out looks like in an HR system. And remember, discrimination law doesn't require intent. Disparate impact is enough. Nobody has to type target people on leave for the outcome to be illegal. Part 2. AI didn't invent this. AI is just data. Now, zoom out with me, because the AI layoffs framing is doing a lot of convenient work for these companies. AI is technically just data. Data these companies already had. Data they were already using arbitrarily to decide who to get rid of, years before a large language model touched an HR system. I know because it happened to me. 2019. WeWork. Disability leave for sickle cell. Leave I only needed because they wouldn't accommodate me in the first place. Terminated mid-leave, which killed the leave, which killed my health coverage at my most medically vulnerable. And the process was so automated, so detached from human judgment, that no one knew until they wondered why I wasn't at the meeting. No AI required. Just data, a pipeline, and an organization where nobody owned the decision. So when Meta or anyone else implies this is a novel AI problem, understand what that framing buys them. It makes decades of discriminatory practice look like a recent software issue. It converts a civil rights problem into a product bug. Bugs get patched quietly. Civil rights violations get litigated publicly. The pipeline existed first. AI just made it faster, cheaper, and this is the key deniable. The algorithm decided is the modern version of it was a business decision. Neither one names a human. That's the point of both. Part 3. Performance reviews were never neutral. But Dr. Day, the AI was trained on performance data. Performance data is objective. No, it is not. This is my field. Over 25 years at the intersection of technology and social science. Performance ratings are not unbiased inputs. They are racist, sexist, and ableist, and the research has shown this for decades. Women penalized for the same assertiveness men get promoted for. Black and brown employees given vague, personality-based feedback, while white colleagues get specific, actionable coaching. Disabled employees rated on their accommodations instead of their contributions. So, follow the chain. Biased humans produce biased ratings, leads to biased ratings become historical performance data. Leads to that data, trains the model leads to, and the model's outputs get called objective because a machine produced them. That's not de-biasing. That's bias laundering. The algorithm inherits every prejudice in the training data and hands it back to you with a confidence score. Part 4. The suppression machine. Now, the part almost nobody covers. Why don't these companies catch this internally? Because structurally, they don't want to know. Let me explain the incentive. Knowledge creates duty. When employees find risky product or process practices and try to raise them, that information creates legal exposure the moment it's documented. If the legal department is formally informed of an issue, they may be obligated to respond and fix it. But if that knowledge is suppressed, reports discouraged, channels quietly closed, then legal doesn't have to answer to any policy or governance measure. Willful ignorance isn't an accident. It's an operating model. I actually published a field note about exactly this. You have an incident response plan for a data breach. You almost certainly don't have one for the day your AI is found to be failing a protected group. And when the harm finally surfaces as a lawsuit, the playbook is consistent. Quash it. Outspend the plaintiffs. Defame and gaslight the people who came forward. And if forced, settle for rounding errors. A settlement that costs less than a week of profit is not a deterrent. It's a licensing fee. The behavior continues because the math says it should. You can see the same machine running in Meta's other courtroom this year. Meta's response to social media addiction trials? Teen mental health is profoundly complex and cannot be linked to a single app. Complexity as a liability shield. Same machine, different harm. Which brings us to the question I get constantly, the one I asked myself from a hospital-adjacent limbo in 2019. If Meta, WeWork, and corporations this size get away with this regularly, what hope is there? Here's my honest answer. The hope is not that these companies grow a conscience. The math doesn't allow it. The hope is in changing the math. In my TEDx talk, I laid out 4 principles for making AI work for all of us. Lead with curiosity, be accountable, solve for one and extend to many, take action, and they map directly onto this moment. 1, litigation as sunlight. 2, documentation. 3, solidarity. 4, regulation with teeth. 1, litigation as sunlight. These 26 Meta workers may or may not win, but discovery forces receipts into the public record. Every filing makes the next one easier and the pattern harder to deny. That's accountability. 2, documentation. If you're an employee, document everything contemporaneously outside company systems. Your paper trail is often the only thing standing between your account and their narrative. 3, solidarity. 1 terminated employee is a performance issue. 26 is a lawsuit. 8,000 is a pattern. Isolation is the strategy used against us. Collective action is the counter. 4. Regulation with teeth. Disparate impact analysis before deployment. Auditable systems. Penalties indexed to revenue, because a fine that doesn't scale is a fee. 5. And here's where smaller companies actually have the advantage. Build it right from the start. Solve for one, extend to many. When you design for the person on disability leave, the metrics stop lying about everyone else too. If you're a founder or leader, you are not doomed to inherit Meta's machine you haven't calcified yet. This is exactly what we do at Inclu. We audit AI and people systems for exactly the failure modes in this lawsuit. Our tech equity work has saved clients over $1.5 billion in regulatory costs and opened over $500 million in new market opportunities. Because inclusion isn't charity, it's the best risk management and growth strategy. If your company uses AI anywhere near hiring, performance, or people decisions, start with the free AI governance. Quick scan, linked below, it will show you in minutes where you're exposed. Or book a discovery call with me directly. The hope is us. It has never been them. The Meta separations were set to begin July 22nd. The addiction verdict is on appeal. I'll be tracking both. If this resonated, subscribe and watch my TEDx talk, You've Been Coded Out. It's linked below. Share this with someone in HR, legal, or leadership who needs it. You are not a performance issue. You were never the problem. You were coded out, and we can code you back in. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See you in the next one.